Welcome to Paradigm Shift Parenting, a podcast for women who make their lives better by first making themselves better. At Paradigm Shift Parenting, we believe that self-improvement is the highest form of self-care. Each episode, we're going to either shift our mindset about something, explore the myth that motherhood and martyrdom are synonymous, replace the oh-so-trendy victimhood mentality with a healthy dose of accountability and responsibility, or simply explore the shared experiences of modern motherhood. I'm your imperfect host, Binky Bell, and I'm glad you're here. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode. Today's episode is going to be really short because it's not anything that I've scripted or planned. I'm just kind of thinking out loud and processing out loud. So last week I did my interview with Ella where we talked very openly, very candidly about our individual experiences and struggles with food addiction. She is much further along in her recovery and her healing than I am. I think the first time that I talked about food addiction was a couple months ago whenever I read that book on binge eating. Since that episode's been released and just these last, it's been 24 hours. That hasn't even been a full 2 days yet. I have gotten so many messages, from so many people who have said they experience the same things, that what we talked about are things that they have experienced but never said out loud. So the episode really resonated with a lot of people, and I think it's really interesting because, like we hit on in the episode, food addiction there's a lot of shame associated with it. It lives very much in the shadows, and while we know that many people have food addiction or struggle with unhealthy relationships with food, we know that because there's shows like My 600-Pound Life, right? Like, we know that obesity is a massive problem. Yet whenever we're overeating, binge eating, not eating with integrity, we allow ourselves to think that we're the only ones who deal with it. And that's been the biggest overall message that I've received back from everybody, is they have felt alone in it. So if you listened to the episode and it made you feel like you weren't alone, that's all I wanted. And I think that's a wonderful thing. Now, since I recorded that episode with Ella, it has been on my mind every day. Typically whenever I record an episode, I edit it and I skim through it really quickly to get it edited, and I post it, and that's it. I don't ever rewatch my episodes. I don't rewatch my content. The interview that I did with Ella, I have watched probably 3 times. I've listened to it in its entirety like 3 times because even though I was there and I was having the conversation with her, I listened back to it and I still am comforted by the fact that I'm not alone in the issues that I have with food. So that's what I want to talk about today a little bit, because as you guys know, I made the decision to cut my hair, right? My hair used to be down to my butt crack, okay? It was really, really long. And while I know that talking about a haircut and like my decision to cut my hair seems really like vapid and boring, there was so many layers to the thought process. Oh, layers, hair pun. There were so many layers of that thought process. Like so many like psychological, like weird body image things that went behind that decision that I feel like it would be a good thing to talk about. So first, somewhere along the line growing up, maybe someone in my family, maybe I got it from, teen magazines, fashion magazines, I don't know. Somewhere along my growth, somebody mentioned to me that short hair makes you look fat. And maybe you've heard this too. I've asked a lot of people, and that is something that we were told as little girls, a lot of us. I don't know why. So for me, it got really internalized as short hair will make you look fat and long hair will help you hide the fat. And I was talking to one of my followers about my decision to cut my hair whenever I was debating as to whether or not I wanted to. And I had mentioned to her that the thought of cutting my hair shorter, even though I didn't cut it off, like it's still pretty long, but just cutting it this much, the thought of that gave me a sensation of anxiety and a sensation of vulnerability. And I was explaining to her, I was kind of thinking out loud to her, and I was saying that I feel like I get to hide behind my hair. That's one layer of my identity, that I have long hair and it somehow helps me feel thinner or hide the fact that I'm so overweight. And it's never anything that I really like consciously thought, it's just a feeling. And the more I sat with it and unpacked it, I realized that it is just one more story that we tell ourselves, that we believe. It's another layer of our identity that we adopt and accept to be true without thinking. It is a paradigm that we never think to shift out of. And again, I know it sounds silly because we're talking about hair and that's so ridiculous, but it's not about the hair, right? It's about what the hair, having long hair, represents. That somehow we were conditioned to believe that if you have long hair, it's gonna hide the extra 40 pounds that you're carrying around, which is ridiculous, especially because I wear my hair up all the time anyways, right? It's not like I have my hair down and then I put it up and people are like, holy shit, I didn't realize you were 180 pounds when your hair was long. Like, you're a totally different person, right? That's not how it works. But somewhere we start believing these things. And it's so silly. It's so silly. And whenever I made the decision to actually cut my hair, I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. I didn't do it because I necessarily wanted to. In fact, it made me really, really, really uncomfortable because it felt, like I said, vulnerable. Like I was going to be exposed as like a fat girl, right? I know this sounds stupid, but I did it because of how uncomfortable it made me. I did it because I didn't want to hold on to some bullshit layer of identity. And again, I know it sounds silly and it sounds crazy, but so much of our issues, our identity, the stories that we tell ourselves are ridiculous. They're ridiculous. Once you start to unpack them, you realize how stupid it is, how ridiculous it is, right? I think for me, like, I just don't, like, I felt like I was hiding behind my hair, right? Like, it could keep me hidden, right? And I don't want to do that anymore. Like, as I am on this path of, like, self-discovery, kind of falling deeper into my sense of self, I don't want to feel like I'm holding on to anything or bringing anything with me that helps suppress my truest expression of myself. Does that make sense? And again, it's not about the hair. It's about what having long hair represented to me. And I think, like, I don't know if I felt like it made me look thinner, or if maybe it was like, maybe I think that people can look at me and be like, oh, she's really big, but she has really pretty hair. Like, it's like having long, beautiful hair makes up for the fact that I'm overweight, or makes it more tolerable that I'm overweight. But even that is just like, it's hiding and quieting myself, and I don't want to feel like I'm tricking anybody. Not that I owe anybody my anything, really. But I want to find out what it's like to show up 100% authentically. And I don't think I'll ever get there. I think that that's kind of part of the process, that we just continue to grow and change our identity and play with our identity and our expressions of our identity. But like I said, for whatever reason, having long hair got really closely tied to my self-image and my weight issues and all of the things that I've been told since childhood, like, don't wear your hair short because it'll make your face look fat or it'll make you look fat. Don't wear light colors. That was something that I was told. And I just recently, like in the last 3 years, started being able to wear light colors. I always dressed in black because I was told that it would make you look thinner. And the goal is always to look thinner. And what I shared on my Instagram today was a quote from Ella where she said, I don't have a weight problem, I have a food problem. And while I know that I'm talking a lot about weight, the weight is the symptom of my issues with food. So they're all connected. The goal isn't necessarily to be thin and look a certain way because I look great. I am a beautiful person. I am extremely cute. I look good, but my weight is an issue because I have issues with food. So while I'm talking about weight, let's not forget that my issue is with food, because so many people have issues with food, and I am completely blown away by the amount of people who have messaged me. I guess I just want to say that even though the title of this is Paradigm Shift Parenting, I want to put out the reminder that to be a fully present, engaged, connected parent, you have to be fully present, engaged, and connected to yourself first. So while I talk about parenting, the focus is always the self, and that's what I'm unpacking. I'm doing it relatively publicly because it gives me a certain amount of accountability. So I guess just thanks for being here with me. Thank you for sharing your stories and your struggles with me too, because it does so much to share a struggle with somebody and know that you're not alone, and also focus on solutions. I've been very outspoken about the fact that we should not be forming relationships on shared struggle anymore. So we aren't just saying, I have food addiction, I struggle with food addiction, I struggle with binge eating, overeating, I have an unhealthy relationship with food, I'm just gonna accept it as part of my identity. We're not doing that. That would be forming relationships and following content out of shared struggle. We're focusing on the solution. We're focusing on healing. We're focusing on unpacking all of the bullshit that we have been told by society and our parents and people who didn't know better than us. That's what we're doing. And I think that's good. And I think it's good to do it together. So again, thank you for being here with me. I might release another episode later in the week because this one was just kind of, off the path. But if you made it this far, thank you for listening. Come by my Instagram. Let's keep talking about it because I'm going to keep talking about it. And I'll see you guys in the next episode.